Hello and welcome to Real Hi-Fi Help. In this video I'm going to be covering the Mcintosh integrated amplifier MA9000. So let's get on with it. I'm going to, in this video, judge it by using a scale from 0 to 100. And this is not the usual scale that most magazines use. I'm not going to give it an artificially high score to make it look good so Mcintosh can sell more of these amplifiers. I'm going to give you a proper score where we compare this thing with the best possible sound that is possible on the market to current dates. And the current date is 21st of June 2020. So just going to give you a couple of pictures of it first. It's this beauty. It looks really good. It's fantastically huge. Nice with all the buttons and the power guarding and the clipping protection and all of that. And this is how it looks coming out of the box. And that's the back side of it. So yeah, that's basically the Mcintosh amplifiers. So I feel that the bass has improved from the previous models, without a doubt. It's finally nice to hear a more human and meaty transistor sound from Mcintosh, where in the past, about 20 years ago, it was a lot more minimalistic and simple and type of a bare bone type of metallic sound. So it's nice to hear that they've finally gone over to a more human-like type of bass. The treble, of course, it's better than the previous models, but I don't feel that it's moved a lot. That they could actually improve a lot. Also the mid-range. I mean, treble and mid-range, yeah, they have improved that, but it hasn't moved a lot. It hasn't, no. Dynamics, still a bit boring, yes. Better than the previous models, yeah. 50 out of 100, as you can see. The detail, yeah, it definitely has more detail than the previous models, so that's of course good. What's really special about this amplifier is the black level that it's able to maintain throughout the whole music. So I know that a few type of B and W speakers also have really good black levels, so that's obviously a very good pairing. And I think that this is one of the things that really gets a lot of people interested in Mcintosh, because it has good separation, it has good power, it has good clarity, good black levels. It does have most of those things that everybody basically wants in the sound. So let me just continue. Now this is the huge problem I have with Mcintosh generally, and that's the fact that it just, for me, it doesn't feel natural. They always have this very cool sound that kind of holds the music a bit hostage, where you can hear the Mcintosh structure presenting the music, and this I really do not like, because it's like being able to see a puppet show where you also at the same time are able to see the puppet master pulling the strings. So I want to hear the music, and I want the equipment to disappear. I don't want to be able to also hear how the equipment is presenting the music, because for me it's not doing it at a very high level. I can still hear that are relatively cheap components inside. So soundstage, yeah, it has improved slightly, definitely slightly. It's still just not 3D enough for me compared to the very best gear. The clarity, yes, it has improved. It has improved significantly. And the power and control, still very similar to the previous models. But yeah, it also has improved. but it's mostly because of the lack of naturality that I'm giving it such a low score. Because normally people associate Mcintosh with being powerful and having a lot of control. Yeah, it does have that, but the problem is that it's the way it has the power and control that I'm not really fully satisfied with. And one thing that actually really surprised me, Macintosh has generally throughout the years, I think at least 30 years, made some really good integrated headphone jacks where you can plug your headphone into. And I'm surprised that they're actually still improving on this part. It's actually the best headphone amplifier that I've heard from an integrated amplifier to date. So well done, Macintosh, for doing that. That actually surprised me a bit, because the headphone sound that I got out of this amplifier actually sounded a lot better than the amplifier generally on speakers. I can't really explain that, but there is something about the headphone amplifier that almost makes me want to have that more than the actual amplifier connected to speakers. It's crazy, isn't it? But yeah, there you have it. And the built-in DAC, yes, Macintosh gets better throughout the years making DACs, without a doubt, but I still feel that Macintosh is just one of those companies that's just, hopelessly stuck in this very limited lower class DAC sound. Yes, it is of course better than the previous models, so it's fine. Using the built-in DAC is fine, but you won't get near the full potential of the amplifier if you use that. That's my opinion. The built-in phono, yeah, slightly better than the previous models, but not really a lot to write about. Well, where Macintosh really shines is with the features, especially when you're touching the buttons and the knobs and everything. It's just the feedback, the look, actually the smell of the Macintosh amplifier coming from the factory. It's also the pride of ownership. This is the one thing that I think Macintosh completely knocks every single brand out of the water. This is just Macintosh at its best. I also remember buying a Macintosh amplifier, and the experience of going to the store, getting that amplifier, putting it in your car, and then maybe having a family member help you bring it in, because they're generally pretty heavy, and then just that amount of excitement that you get from opening that big box and having the box with inside the box and unscrewing the feet and all that, and then you see this Macintosh amplifier inside with this see-through plastic, and then you take the plastic off the amplifier. And then, wow, it just looks so beautiful. You can't really get it on this picture here, but once you pull that thing out and put it on the floor and pull the plastic off, oh my God, does it just look gorgeous. And also when you have a pretty dark room and you have the watt meters going, again, anybody, even the most critical sound listeners out there, will somehow be hypnotized by this. So I actually think that's the main reason for why people have Macintosh, because it's just the feel of it, operating it, using the remote control, stuff like this. It's I think it's a very American thing, and I kind of feel that, I'm into audio note equipment, and I feel that that's basically the only thing that I miss with audio note gear, is this ability to really physically, when you look at the equipment, to get that feedback, that inspiring look. And that's where I feel that Macintosh is clearly the best manufacturer in the world in this small category, pride of ownership and features. So I have to say to Macintosh, well done. And it's so nice with a proper manual and the documentation and all the history. And it's just the way that they present things physically as a product. That is really amazing. And I really wish that I had that back from my previous Macintosh that I owned. But I don't own it anymore, so that's basically the only thing that I really miss about Macintosh. So conclusion is that it's the most powerful Macintosh integrate amplifier to date. It has a more solid sound with more control. But I would, though, like a more free and intimate and released sound that is more 3D and more organic and also slightly more developed. I would also like Macintosh in general to create a more clear picture where the sound stage picture starts and ends, so you feel completely filled with confidence knowing that it's like this to the left of the speaker, it's like this to the right of the speaker, and then you can see clearly what's going on, instead of you having this like linear detail up in the air and you can't really see exactly what's going on. It's kind of a mesmerizing, hypnotic thing that Macintosh do with their transistor detail in general, and I'm not really so happy about that. It's kind of really cool and nice when you don't have the product, and then when you get it in the start and you have it in the first couple of months. But once you get to own it for a while, I think it gets kind of tiring that you don't have a more developed soundstage. And that's basically the point where I feel that Macintosh amplifiers in general lack a bit. Because they do get more detail, more meat, more control, and especially more black level. And but it just lacks that substance where you feel that this is the best in the world. It doesn't get better than this, you know. And I really want to feel the physical presence of the music, so you can envision the whole orchestra being behind the wall. And that's a problem I have in general with Macintosh equipment. Even when you do everything right and do the perfect pairing, it still ends at the wall, the detail. The best sound equipment in the world, they don't end at the wall. They give you a feel of having, I don't know, 50, 100 feet of musicians going past the wall and to the left and to the right and behind the speakers. And that's why I feel that Macintosh is a bit two-dimensional, even though they have more information. I mean, the newer models always come with more information, so, but it still lacks substance with information. So yeah. But again, I feel that generally Macintosh is a bit on the polite, controlled side with a very linear type of detail. Many people like linear detail. I do not like linear detail. I think it's a general thing with higher class transistor equipment, but it's part of the whole Macintosh stock sound. So yeah, it is probably the most natural Macintosh I've heard to date. So I mean, they're obviously improving the sound, and I know a lot of people are saying that the old Macintosh were a bit more sweet and nice and all that. Yeah, they clearly were, but they're also a lot more noisy, so you can't really compare them. Plus the fact that the new Macintosh can handle loads that are a lot higher, so you don't have to listen to all that noise and have the basically the speaker running the amplifier instead of the amplifier running the speaker type of situation. So yeah, it's you can't really get it all, but I mean they're definitely getting closer to cracking the code without a doubt. So I used to think around year 2000 that Macintosh had lost it, and I also feel that for a small point of time they actually did with their lower models. I feel that the very cheap 5,000 and 6,000 models that they made, MA 5,000, 6,000, I felt that they just weren't quite good enough. And it's only when we got into the Mcintosh 7,000 series that I really felt that, okay, now Mcintosh is really starting to be good again as a brand. And then they came into the 8,000 series and now the 9,000 series. So obviously it's better, but let me just read a bit more. And I feel that compared to other brands in the world, a big part of the experience is touching it, getting feedback from it, and by looking at it, and that many people will basically own Macintosh. I said that earlier, but part of the whole Macintosh deal is owning it. Pride of ownership. Okay, a lot of people look past the bad sound parts, because when you have it physically in your living room and you're looking at that going, oh well with the watt meters, it has a hypnotic effect on you. So I feel that if Macintosh did not have that, I feel that a lot less Macintosh equipment would be sold. So it's a good and a bad thing. But again, coming from the older models, you can feel that the old MA9000 amplifier, coming from that model, that the sound has become more whole, more round, more natural, more realistic. Where before, like I said, before it was a bit more of a bare bones type of sound, a minimalistic type of sound, where it just wasn't quite convincing enough. But I would say that from the bass category to the headphone category, it's probably safe to say that the sound has improved 10 to 15 points, going from, let me just show you that, bass here to headphone. It's about 10 to 15 points, and that's actually quite a lot, because when I'm looking at this scale from 0 to 100, I'm talking about the best possible sound. Okay, this is not a some kind of hi-fi magazine review where they just give like 8 out of 10, 9 out of 10, 7 out of 10. When for me, when I have to give a score out of 10, then I'm going with the best possible ever sound in the world. So I still feel that treble, mid-range, and not so much the bass, but treble, mid-range, and naturality. That's why I think it's kind of lacking, especially naturality. So just go down to the text here. But the headphone, the headphone function is really good. I listened to it with Sennheiser HD800s, Focal Utopia, and a lot of other headphones, and it was really good, really, really good. I was actually surprised that they had improved that, because it was actually pretty good back in the day when I had my Mcintosh MA6900. That was actually pretty good, and the MA7000 actually again improved the sound a bit, and that's only going from 6900 to the 7000. And I was just surprised that they're actually able to improve this part. So good that they're able to do that. But the DAC, I feel that it's just a bit limited and two-dimensional in sound. And when I connected a really good DAC to it, immediately it just got a lot better, the sound. So just to let you guys know that it has a DAC. The DAC is obviously better than an average DAC, but it can get a lot better, just so you guys know. And generally, I feel that people that have Macintosh equipment, they like to use stuff like Martin Logan speakers and B&W and Sonos Faber. But also JBL clips, and especially Fenderstein. I don't see a lot of people using Fenderstein speakers on Mcintosh transistor gear, but these are brands that are very compatible, going very much in the direction of the Mcintosh sound. And especially for the value of the money, I would say a JBL, what's it called, L100 Classic is really good value-wise. And the Fenderstein 1CI and 2CE are really good with Mcintosh gear in general and offer fantastic value. And some of the bigger B&W models, some of the top five models that they made, actually they click really well, especially B&W, because of their blackness in sound. So if you like the Mcintosh black sound and the B&W black sound, I mean, you've got some of the blackest sound on the market there. That alone is going to be a really good match. But I've tried pairing it with speakers from these brands here, and I have to say it was quite disappointing. Verity speakers, Martin Design, Karma speakers, Peak Consult speakers, and Audio Note speakers. These are actually speakers that are a hell of a lot better than these, in my opinion, but they just go in a completely different sound direction, and you don't want to hear these type of speakers on Mcintosh gear, because typically what you get is a very bright and boring and lifeless type of sound. They just don't mix generally, and especially the audio note. It's almost a nightmare. And some of the cheaper Martin Design speakers, can't remember what they were called. I think it was called Getz. Yeah, Martin Design Getz. Try and put a Martin Design Getz speaker on a Mcintosh amplifier in a big room. It just sounds horrible, absolutely horrible. I mean, you can probably get away with it if you use the Mcintosh tube amplifier. Then it would probably sound pretty okay. But generally, I do not recommend these speaker brands on Mcintosh gear. But also, of course, I mean, it's obvious that using Mcintosh speakers, their own speakers, on their own amplifiers, you know, that's obviously gonna sound good. And then you get even more of this linear type of detail, which I'm not really crazy about, but I do kind of get it, you know, especially in the start when I was getting into hi-fi. When you have a Mcintosh amplifier, Mcintosh CD, DAC, even cables and speaker, it kind of melts together in a special type of way, and then you get the full intention of what Mcintosh was trying to do with their sound. So yeah, I mean, if you can afford that, but I just think that generally Mcintosh speakers are just way overpriced and not really my kind of tea, considering the price. I mean, I do like the top models that they make, and you have to kind of like use them with Mcintosh gear for them to be really good. But I mean, value-wise, I just find them ridiculous. A lot like the Wilson audio speakers. That you're basically getting a lot of isolated good detail, but yeah, just value-wise, I just think it's just crazy. Value-wise, I would go with these two brands, and then maybe a single JBL or clip speaker. Sonus Faber, yeah, that can actually sound pretty good with Mcintosh. It has a tendency of bringing out the more sweeter type of quality of sound that makes Mcintosh seem pretty good, better than it really is. But yeah, that was this review, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. Have a nice day. Bye. And remember to subscribe and like. Bye.